welcome those listening in. Yeah, we've got Andy Spell with me. I think of the movie Silverado, where Cobb says, "Look, I want you to meet one of my oldest living friends." So, just so glad to have Andy on the call today. And Andy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a pastor here in Houston, Texas. Cypress, actually, one of our suburbs. I've been doing ministry since 1986. So I'm not good at math. So is that 39 years?
I think so.
Wow. Yeah, 39 years. I started off as a youth pastor, did that for 21 years. I moved here to Houston as a worship pastor. Now I'm an associate pastor, married, 3 kids, 2 in-law kids, so 5 kids, 4 grandkids. I love ministry. I love doing ministry. Man, it's had its ups and downs for sure, Byron. But man, I feel like at 61, I may be doing some of my best ministry now.
Yeah. What makes it that way for you? Just at 61, right, where it feels like it's your best.
I think when I was younger, I wanted to prove myself. There was something to prove. I wanted people to see me as a great minister. I worked really hard, spent hours and hours, striving. I think at some point, I just figured out that ministry is who I am and who I was, and I stopped striving, and I just started being the minister and the man God had called me to be, and not trying to prove anything, but just be who I am.
Yeah, man, what a testament for younger pastors right there alone. There's something about when we hit a certain age and experience where we just say, "I've been here before."
Right.
And this becomes a little bit more natural.
And I think in that part of, I've read some of Richard Rohr's stuff and other people's stuff. There's the beginning of our lifetime, Byron, we're trying to build. We want to build something.
Yeah.
And now I just want to live into what life has to give. And man, grandkids help that. You can't be building something when you're just sitting there rocking a 1-month-old or whatever. It just, your life changes. My life changed, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love having you here and your experience, because this is going to be valuable to pastors who are working through all the different ways that they're trying to do ministry. Ministry's hard.
Yeah.
I work with so many pastors that I just get to sit with them and just listen to them talk and what's going on for them. One of the key things that they struggle with, and you were talking a little bit earlier with me about this, is working with teams of volunteers, right? So, what are some of the things you run into as a pastor working with a team of volunteers?
Wow, one, I think the first thing I start off, and I've got to remember, most of my volunteers are busy as well. Yeah. They have a life. I'm thinking about ministry all day. I'm a full-time minister, so I'm thinking about what needs to be done, and I'm thinking about ministry. And I mean, I do have a wife, I've got kids, but my work is ministry, so I'm thinking about it. Right off the bat, they're busy. They've got kids in soccer. They've got life things going on. They've got their jobs. They've got their responsibilities outside of the ministry. And so this really is their volunteer time. And so we're, just like everybody else, we're competing for their time. So I think that's number one, is they're very busy. They've got a lot going on. And number two, a lot of my volunteers at church are volunteering not only on my teams, but they're actually on other teams as well. So we've got cross-pollination of people that are in worship, but they want to be in greeting, but they want to be Bible teachers. They're small group leaders. And the list goes on. And so many of them are not on one team. They're on many teams. So not only am I competing for their hours with what they do in life, but also with other ministries as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so this to me sounds like one of the first steps in helping pastors work with teams is just an awareness that they're not in the same space you are.
Correct.
That they are living their life. They're not thinking about ministry all the time, even though they might be volunteering in a key space and it might be in the forefront some, but they're not thinking like the minister is, right? And so it's yeah, it could be a challenge for a young pastor. Doesn't somebody care as much as I do?
Right.
Yeah, and then the frustration sets in. What are some of the behaviors you think or you have had in the past when you felt that they don't love this, or they're not putting as much into this as I am?
Yeah, man, it could be frustration, just frustration, and making sure that doesn't boil up in the conversation. Man, I'll get controlling, and all of a sudden, I forget I've got volunteers, and I just say, man, I'm going to do it all myself. And then all of a sudden, they don't feel utilized, they don't feel needed, they don't feel heard. And so, man, why would I be on this team if you're going to do it all? So I'll get frustrated. That can boil out in conversations. I try to take things over and just do it all myself and then spread myself too thin. And then that sometimes will come out sideways on the volunteers. Man, I'm trying to think. Some of my other behaviors, watching the way that I send out emails, don't be passive aggressive. Try to work at not alienating the team because you're frustrated, because they're not living up to your expectation. You've got to watch. It's a balance between the accountability that I'm trying to bring to them, but also understanding that I've got to shepherd them into being a good volunteer. And they may think that they're really doing great and they're giving a lot of time. So why is this guy frustrated with me? Why is this lady frustrated with me? Because I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. What a beautiful piece of bringing in your experience for our listeners to know that you experienced that, because they're experiencing that. They're feeling these things. And then what do we do with it? Right? How do I handle it?
And in this, man, it's really important to remember, Byron, that it's about their discipleship and their relationship with God. What I'm thinking about is it's a job, it's a responsibility. You need to help me, man. At times, you need to help me look good. I need my senior pastor to look and think, wow, he's doing a good job. Look at this team. They're working really well. Or the elders, or whoever the bosses are. And I'm looking at it as, I can almost see them as transactional. And maybe we shouldn't say that, but man, I need you to help me make this look good. I need you to do this because I'm striving, I'm building, I'm trying to make my name. I'm trying to prove I deserve this job. Man, there's a lot going on there. And I've got to remember it's about their discipleship and bringing them close to Jesus. And if my attitude gets in the way of that, then I don't think I'm serving them well either. So, I mean, it's just a multi-layered, difficult business ministry that we're in. I can't just fire them. Because, man, we're dealing with people's souls and their lives and their faith. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and so that to me sounds like a second awareness. Like the first one is they're not as involved in it as you are, as emotionally involved. But the second one is this concept that I am making this my job, and I forgot that I actually got in this for ministry.
Right.
Or there may be an awareness and it's like, this isn't what I signed up for. I thought I was just going to be this wonderful pastor who is ready to take care of everybody and they're all going to be happy to volunteer and do it my way. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm in the middle of what makes ministry happen.
Right.
And that's a wrestling match within the pastor just in and of itself. I've had a couple say, I'm not going to name any names, but because I said it when I was in education, very similar. A couple of pastors say, man, church would be great if we didn't have all these people.
Right.
Right. And it's a frustration. It's that boil over of frustration. And
then,
being aware of it.
And then your volunteers have expectations of you.
Yes. Yep.
And so, I mean, it's just, it can be difficult. It can be beautiful, but man, it can be difficult. And I also think so that, those two things we were talking about, it becomes a job. And then the third thing is really learning to empower your team so that they're helping make the decisions, that they feel like they actually have some skin in the game and that what they say is important. Don't just come in and tell your team what they're going to do. This is what you're going to do. Like actually take the team at the time and have the time to say, open it up for questions, discussion, let them help lead. And man, what's amazing is they will come up with things that you never thought of. And you actually go, man, that's really good. Let's do that. So having a preconceived idea of what it all should look like and how it's all laid out. If you're working with men that are leading in their companies, women that are, principals or, at their schools, they're leading in their business. They're at the top of their, whatever they're doing. They're real estate heads. They're, they're leading companies. They're doing life. They've got insights, and I think they want to be used for that as well.
Absolutely. And I have found some of the best empowering work that I've been able to do is point out some character things that I admire and see in them. They don't always see themselves as talented in some way. And to point out their giftedness and say, isn't that wonderful? And it is something that can be used in our church. I'm so glad you were here. And go do it. And just come back, tell me what you did.
Yeah.
Right? And just empower them that way.
I think about one of my teams right now. I'm doing small groups, and we put together this team, and we said, man, let's put this person in, this person in. There's another guy, one of our volunteers, he's leading with me. And we added this man to our team. I had no idea how gifted he was in PowerPoint presentations and communications and taking notes. That's what he does. But I tell him all the time, man, I am so glad I don't have to create any of that. We did a training for our small group leaders. He put it all together, and I didn't have to do a thing. And man, he's invaluable. But then he does all that. He's on my team that we prepare meals 3 times a year for the homeless downtown at a church. We serve meals. He cooks all of the food, all the pork for our pulled pork sandwiches. He does that as well. So this guy's multi-talented. And I tell him all the time, dude, I could not do my ministries without you. Your giftedness is fantastic. Your food is great. Your presentations are great. He is a multi-talented man, and he serves in many different places. And I need to remember that he serves in youth and in food and on small groups.
Yeah.
And so I've got to remember all his giftedness, but telling people, man, I could not do this. This ministry would not go without you is really, I think you're right, it's really important. They need to know they're appreciated.
Absolutely. And this helps with what we really would like to get to, and this is the accountability of volunteers. Especially when you talked about before this empowering piece, they have expectations of me too. And this accountability is the hardest piece, I think, in the church world, because it's become such a hot word in the church world. So many church people, when they hear the word accountability, you could just almost see their body tense up, because we've misused it as a gotcha, as I'm watching you, and I'm watching you close because you said you want to do it, and I'm watching you close, and I'm going to catch you when you're off.
Yeah.
And that's really not honestly what we're talking about. So I like to bring in, you and I both have been a part of the Crucible Project for many years, and we have a beautiful form of accountability that can be carried over into everything that we do.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have the gotcha. And it's all pointing to the agreement that somebody has made.
And I'm going to say this, Byron, and they're young pastors or probably other people listening to this.
Yeah.
Man, the way, and this is me, I mean, I'm pointing fingers back at me, Byron. When I tell my leaders, when I tell my volunteers, when I make an agreement with them and I don't keep it.
Yes.
I'm going to have this letter out by this day. I'm going to have this email out by this day. Hey, would you show up at this time for us to set up for? If I don't do that, if I'm late, if I don't show that I'm going to be in integrity with the agreements I meet with the group, then me calling them into accountability is it's just going to fall on deaf ears, or they're not going to understand it. I've got to be the one who says, I've got to understand that I'm accountable. And when I mess up, or when I don't do it, or when I'm running late, I've got to be the first one to say, man, I didn't do this. I told you I would do this. I didn't do this. I'm going to renegotiate, and I'm going to get this done. We had one of our meals I'm in charge of. We were going down to serve. I got up late. I was running late that Sunday morning. I got halfway to the church building. I forgot the food I'd made. I had to turn around, come back home, and I got there. My volunteers were standing there waiting, and I just owned it. I was like, guys, I slept past my alarm. I forgot my food. I had to go back and get it. This is not the leader I want to be. Man, if this gave you any message that I don't see you, or that I'm not reliable, that is not the message. And I tell you, I'm going to renegotiate. This will not happen again. Or, man, I'm going to work at this not happening again. But I spoke it so they could know that I take my commitments. They're important to me.
Yeah. And isn't it funny? Because I've done this. I've held myself accountable. I've said, hey, the choice that I even go to this. I made a choice to stay and talk with my wife 5 more minutes, and it made me late to this. And I want to renegotiate and tell you the next time I will either let you know I'm running late, or I will be on time. But when I have humbled myself with that, isn't it so funny how church people say, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's, which underneath they're seething. Right?
Yes.
But oh, it's all right, and they'll try to give us a pass. But if we hold firm and show our example of, I'm holding myself accountable, I'm owning it, it does 2 things. It gives us power, really. We're no longer a victim. We are standing in the power of, hey, I blew this, I'm owning it, and this is where I want to go. I want to be this way. But secondly, we start modeling for them how this is done without shame. And then we can do the same for them. I give an example, and it's not and if he were here, he would tell the story. He'd probably tell the story like I blew him up, which is not what happened. But I had a young pastor who was late to a breakfast, and it was the first time we were going to meet. He was our men's leader at the time. And I texted him and said, "Hey, were we on for today?" And it's like the text was like, "Oh my gosh, I had it on the wrong day. I'm on my way." Okay? So he comes in, and you could just see shame all over him. He's already starting this profuse apology, and I said, "Dude, this is how it works for me. Just own what you did, and let's move on. I don't need all your shaming yourself. You're a man. You're responsible for yourself. Just own it, and let's go forward." He hasn't been late, or if he has let me know ever since then. And he tells people the story over and over of me holding him that way. He said, "Man's never done that with me."
Right.
And it was a gift to him.
Well, and I think the other thing is whenever our volunteers, let's just think of our own selves, and pastors out there listening to this, when we think of ourselves and we think of our volunteers, they're feeling shame because they know they made an agreement. They know they said they were going to do something and they didn't do it. And so the way that we tread into that with them, if we don't give them a pass, if we say, "Man, I get it," but if we let them renegotiate, because lots of times I say, "Hey, can I get this to you by so-and-so?" Or I think it's really the way that we respond, the way that we react, and the way that we work with them. If we do that in a way that that teaches, that lifts up, that gives them an out, not an out, but it gives them an avenue to get back into integrity, get to live out what they said they would do. If we do that with them, then I think we've made a friend. I think we've made a volunteer that actually wants to be on our team and will stay on the team because they now realize, "Hey, I want to work with this man. I want to work with this woman."
Yes.
Working with them is actually, man, it's kind of a pleasure. And I find myself growing in my relationship with them.
Yep, absolutely. And not everybody can be approached like my young pastor friend.
Yes.
Where I just say, "Own it."
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to remind them how much we care about them. And I love your gifts, but here's something that was missed. We had an agreement that we would do blank. And tell me about how you missed that mark.
Right.
Rather than say, "Own it," tell me how you missed that mark and what was going on for you.
Sure.
And do a little bit of probing, but still guiding them. But the key is that takes the emotion out of it is just pointing to the agreement.
Right.
Because it's out there with no strings attached. It's just what we said we would do. And we're teaching integrity to our pastorate. We're guiding them as pastors when we teach them this. You're talking about shepherding and soul work for them. That's shepherding too.
Absolutely.
And pastors are afraid to do that because I'm going to lose my volunteer.
Right.
I'm going to tick them off. They're going to take their toys and go home. And now I'm back doing it all by myself again.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that's not helpful.
No.
Because that's when I see, man, and you've seen it, Byron, that's when we see pastor burnout and frustration. And that's when we can see reality, them make poor decisions with their lives, with morality, that's where lots of times it's other things, but that's where that spiral can happen. They get stressed out, they turn to something they don't need to help medicate the stress, and then there's burnout, and then we lose pastors over it. And a lot of it is trying to do everything on our own by ourselves just is not sustainable, especially as churches grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds to me like if we were to put this in some kind of method for a pastor, we would say, well, be aware, one, that not everybody is as deeply engulfed in this as you are.
And they may think they are. They may think they are.
They think they are.
Busy.
That's right.
Yes.
Be aware that you're not the only one who has to do it. and where are you being frustrated by all of this? You're still dealing with people, and then
And
yeah,
sometimes, Byron, sometimes the reason I get stuck doing it all on my own, and this is, I'm again talking to me, guys. This is from Andy Spell, who is a people person and not a process person. So I've had to learn it, folks. Lots of times I end up doing it on my own because I haven't organized my life and organized my volunteers in the way they should be going. So
yeah,
some of that, I've had to learn that through the years, learn how to organize it, because sometimes my own inefficiency will help. And the other thing is, man, look to the people around you. I'm lucky, and maybe not all churches have this, but man, if you've got support staff, if you've got administrative assistants, if you've got people in your church, take the time to help teach them how they can help you organize as well. Our worship pastor, um, he went to his admin and said, I need you to do this for me. And they
yeah,
set it up, and she started doing it to help
yeah,
him stay organized. So get some people in your life, get the coaching, do the things that help you to where you're not doing it on your own because of your disorganization. Many of us we're people. We want to
yeah.
be out with the people. So get the people to help you learn how to be organized. So, okay, sorry. I just want to put that in there.
Absolutely. Well, and I'll say this probably on just about every time I'm in front of working with pastors for the first time or whatever is when you go to seminary, you go to Christian university, whatever it is you're training for a pastor, there is not an organizational leadership class. There's not a how do I manage me class. It is important that their theology is built strong, and that's what seminary and all that mostly does. But they've got to add in some practical pieces, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you and I, who are both coaches, can come in and help people with, right?
Yes.
Be able to handle that situation and be able to, how do I organize myself? A whole nother topic for another day is
Yes.
how do I empower people around me who fill in my weaknesses. That would be another great topic one time for us, Andy. What about the entitled volunteer? And how do you hold them accountable? They feel entitled. They're doing you a favor.
Gosh, that is, again, man, the art of ministry is learning how to work with people 100%. I think it's learning to say thank you for the things they do well. Man, good, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. And then saying, but hey, this is what I'm going to do. Or, from our team and from everything else, this is the direction we're going to go. I love that you've got this idea. I love that you want to do this. I agree. Man, that was really helpful, but that's not what we're going to do. Or even saying, man, I really didn't need that. This is where I think we're going to go. I think it's that art of being strong enough to say, yes, we're working in this. Yes, thank you so much for doing this. But here's a boundary, and this is the direction we're going, and be firm in that. And it's going to take conversation. And the thing is, sometimes with that person that is entitled,
yeah,
and we never want to see this, but that's the person that may step away from the ministry at some point because they have decided they can't work within the parameters of the ministry. And the other thing is if we let the entitled person go on and do too much, they will actually many times drive away the other volunteers, because the other volunteers, they'll be the ones telling them, you're not doing this right. You need to step up.
Yeah.
We may not be saying that as the leader of the ministry, but they're getting hammered by that person. And that person can bring attitude and can bring down the whole attitude of the group. They can, that negativity can really wreak havoc within your group and your volunteers.
Absolutely. You and I have talked a few times about this. This is who we are. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Living in that space. Then when you're working with that entitled, so I had a pastor, he's a peacemaker. He's a great guy. People just love him. And he is such a peacemaker, but he sometimes has to make hard decisions. He's probably 40-ish, right? And he has not done it well in the past. Part of my coaching with him was to help him around this area of team members that are either entitled or they don't fit any longer.
Yeah.
It's just not working. And one of the things we were able to draw him to was this space of, I've got to make this decision. And then the conversation with them, I can see that this is hard for you. How do I pastor you through this?
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, oh, so I can cut them and I'm still a pastor. Because
Right.
he was worried that I've got to make a business decision and I'm taking my pastor hat off. And it's, no, you're both and.
Yeah.
You've got to make this decision, and then how do I support you? How do I walk through this with you? Because you're valuable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of conversation. It takes a lot of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
It takes, sometimes it's checking my own heart. Is this entitled person irritating me? And I just don't like working with them, which can happen, guys. And is there can I find within that entitlement, can I find some kind of gold that helps them lead maybe in a different way within the group and help them see that this other way of doing it isn't helpful?
Yeah.
So I work on trying to make try to get them in and get them to stay as much as possible. But then at some point, the decision is made, man, yeah, how can we pastor them through that? That's good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've got to come to a wrap-up point here, but
like I said, we could talk all day, dude.
We can keep going, and
I'll chase you. Hey, you give me that rabbit, and I'll chase it. So go ahead.
That's right. We've already discovered 3 or 4 more topics to go with, didn't we?
Yeah.
So one of the things I like to tell these guys who are moving along in pastor, and it really doesn't matter where you are in the journey. You could be 20 years down the road. You have got to have mentors. You have got to have coaches in your life, and I say multiple. We've got a lead pastor who's brilliant. He's doing a great job leading our church, and he's got multiple coaches. He's got one that watches his sermons. He's got one that he talks to about leadership. He's got find these people. Proverbs 15:22, for lack of plans, for lack of counsel, plans fail.
Right.
But with many advisors, they succeed.
Right.
And we feel like, and you've talked about it early on, we feel like I'm the only one doing ministry. I'm out on this island. I'm the only one who cares about it. And your team may not care about it as much, but your coach, your mentor, we both have offerings for people like that.
Absolutely.
Find those people and get them in your life. Don't try to do this on an island.
Right.
And then finally, I love what we've come up with in terms of how you do this accountability with your team, right? It is not that I got you and I'm looking for you to mess up. It is, how do we walk together so that we meet that outcome?
Man, I will say this to ministers and other leaders, because this is just the way I do it. It's not the way that everybody has to do it. But I want the people working with me in my ministries, I want them to know that I am not going to ask them to do anything that I'm not willing to do.
Yeah.
And so, the days that we do food take in, I'm in there taking the food with them.
Yeah.
Now, it can't always work that way. But man, as much as possible, I will never ask them, because I want them to see that I value what they're doing. If they see me doing it, it makes them see the value in what they're doing. So yes, but we need mentors. We need people to talk to. And man, pastors out there, young guys out there, one of the things that I think I struggle with as a young pastor and as a young man in ministry, young woman in ministry, I was afraid to ask for help because I was afraid it made me look weak. I was afraid that I had to have all the answers. I was afraid that if people didn't think I had all the answers or could do it on my own, I didn't know how to ask for help because it looked weak. And I was afraid that it would make me look like I didn't know what I was doing. I worried about what other people thought. And man, there are some things early on in ministry, especially in my first, 5-10 years, I really wished I would have looked for a coach and a mentor to ask questions of and get past this feeling that somehow I had to have, because I had the role, I had to have all the answers. That's just it's not helpful, and it's not good, and it makes us isolated, and isolation will lead to really poor decisions sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Andy, thank you so much for being a part of this today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to do it again. I got 4 or 5 topics just running through my head already.
I love it.
Yeah, and I love how you pour into people and how you care so much about them.
Thank you.
So so grateful to have you as a friend and part of the kingdom.
Man, I love it. Thank you, Byron. Same.
All right.